Thanks. So I'm excited to share with you the last few years of my life that I've spent inside of the veteran community. This is a great cross-sectional representation of the entire American experience across race, across demographics. This is something that I think is relatable to everybody and applicable in what we've been able to do in building one veteran community. Every year, 250,000 service members will leave the military, coming back into civilian roles. In 2008, that was me. I left a great combat unit, guys that I loved, a brotherhood, a community, and I took over a small business. And as I was running that business, what I found is there were a lot of images, perceptions applied to me that really were the deficit or the challenges facing the veteran community. As I started to do sales calls and different things, people were perceiving me negatively. Not based off of what I wanted to be as a business owner, but the challenges that were facing our community. Luckily, along the way, because I started to hide the fact that I was a veteran, I found a community. I found the Lonestar Veterans Association, this great organization that I first got involved with that had great men and women that were just knocking out of the park. They were great in their military careers, and they continue that excellence on into their civilian careers. If you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, these were people I wanted to be with. Now, as I started volunteering, helping with some job placement, they asked me to be on the board of directors. And when you're 27, doing what 27s do, or shouldn't be doing, I had no idea what it meant to be on a board of directors. I'm still trying to figure that out, but I figured it would be a fun story to tell later, so I'm glad that kind of came full circle here. After a few years of that and learning what the organization really meant on the back end, I was asked to take over as a leadership role, and it was just a great opportunity to really get engaged with our community. The way that we've gone about building community, because one brushstroke does not paint us all, is we find identity groups. We find things that are our shared experience. If you think about it, every veteran nonprofit is based on a shared military experience. That's the identity, but there's so much more to us. So what we look for are these overrepresentations inside of different identity groups that have a lack of services. And through that, we've been able to identify multiple identity groups for our organization, for our community. I think of these as bricks inside of one foundation of the community. So we're making one veteran community one brick at a time. This can be broken up in half into career groups, family groups. In our family groups, we have a veteran spouse group because, God bless them, they put up with us. They have a whole different experience than some of us that served on active duty. We have an LGBT group. Because if you look at the LGBT representation inside the force, it's twice what it is inside the general population. And even last month, we had this great first ever Veterans Military LGBT military ball with hundreds of folks. And none of those people in that room could be defined by their challenges. They could be defined by their successes. And that's some of the great things we want to do. We even have a veteran Christian group, which you might think that there's a lot of programming for veteran Christians in the community, and there is, around crisis intervention. There's not an affirmational message, a success-driven narrative that's focused on sharing our faith journeys together. And the thing that I love about that, because that's one of my identities, is that it's also a great way to connect with the civilian population that maybe put a veteran up on a pedestal. Well, it brings them down and puts them in the pew. Because you can now experience that veteran narrative, that experience, through a Christian narrative. And we share our faith journeys together. And by bridging the gap between these different identity groups, whether you serve, whether you're a Christian or not, this is the point of building a community, one community that's segmented but united. We have different professional groups, entrepreneurs, that's another my identity, obviously. Energy, because it's Houston, we had to check that box. And IT. The military is constantly churning out a lot of cybersecurity and other different trade groups, and so there's a lot of opportunities inside of this that we want to build. Now, the way that we do this, and again, because the veteran community is so cross-sectional, recruited from the military, inside of low-income areas, inside of rural communities, highly representative, other people can follow this. We lead, we connect, and we strengthen our careers and our families. By doing that, we're able to take people, these A players, the people that are leaders in our community, that they don't want to get something from this community, they want to give. They're the examples of the community. They don't identify with the crises, but they want to help everybody else. These are the leaders that we solicit to come out and get engaged. We train them as peer mentors, we train them as resource navigators for the things inside of our veteran community and the identity group that they also represent. They create events that they want to go to. They're geographically available, they're time relevant, that have amazing content. And all of that's great because that pulls people out. We make fun, positive, inclusive activities. But that's just the window dressing. The meat of our programming is when people come out, those people are seated into the groups, into the activities, and they connect people. There's amazing research on social connectivity, and that's what every community group does, whether they realize it or not. You're building a social interaction and increasing connectivity. And there's correlation data that shows that as you increase social connectivity, you increase employment and job satisfaction, you decrease mental health crisis intervention. So we can be in the preventative mode of those negative challenges that we do have to face and we have to recognize. But instead of waiting for somebody to be at the end of their rope, we can catch them further up and make sure that they're moving up the rope, not down. This is about building a community of success and leaders. And what we've found as we lead, we get people connected, we're strengthening their lives and their careers. And that makes them come back in. That makes them volunteer. That makes them grow new communities, build new identity groups. And as we're able to do that, we're able to build a virtuous cycle of community engagement that just grows. And it's very easy because we have such amazing leaders inside of our community. As we go through this, what I would tell you is that, clicker? Maybe not. We're working on building one veteran community, one brick at a time. It's through all these different groups, it's through all the community engagements that we're able to accomplish together. But what I would say is, as you look out at your community, out at your life experience, think of the things that you're passionate about. Think of the things that you identify with, that you long to do and be around others who have that same shared experience. And take that and pick up your own brick and add us in. And together we can build one foundation, one American community based off the experiences of our veterans. But together we can make one American community. Thank you.